Hi, everyone. I want to welcome an incredible guest today that I've been looking forward to having this interview with, because it is going to be a very deep, deep rabbit hole that we're going to go down. And his name is David Block, and he is phenomenal in his research. He's going to go into that information today, revealing a lot regarding the covens and the Ouroboros and this entire mechanism, holographic reality we're in. So I welcome David Block. It is a great honor to have you, David. I'm so happy.
Thank you a lot, and it's my pleasure to be on. And I think it's a great time where we can share information and connect to each other. We are far and few in between, but the internet has made us connect, and that's great. So
That's the one benefit, right, of their technology.
Exactly. I mean, they don't want us to use it like this, but that's the price they have to pay.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to introduce some of your work to give people an idea of what the research is before we delve deep?
Yeah, I started off 20 years ago studying various conspiracy theories, and I was into that. But very soon, I realized that this is not going to change me or change humanity. It's just dig your own. It is good to know things, but then what? Then what we need to go forward. So I realized I have to go back and study everything I have discarded, like religion. I've studied a lot of religion, but it wasn't for me, and ended up in alchemy. And I felt, yeah, this is kind of a me. I stay here for a while. And then I went over to Kabbalah and the Lurianic Kabbalah. I was there for like 5 years, studied very hard, did courses and so on. But things happened and I felt stuck within it. And I searched for the left-hand path. And that's, people view it as a dark, rough path, of course. And I bought into that. It was evil and the elitist left-hand path and so on. So I was a little bit hesitant. But then I get connection with Lucifer, and it wasn't at all what I imagined it to be. I was like, what was going on here? Of course, I was afraid. First was, now I knew that this forces was for real. And then I started to wonder, these forces are for real, but what does it mean for us, my family, the human race? Do they want us good, or are they our enemy? Who are they? So I dig deep, very deep into that. And I started practice left-hand path, method and theory. And there I found more answers to my question I've had about this reality, because I wanted to have three answers on three major questions. If this elite existed, who were they? What do they want with us? And how are we going to transcend them and go forward? Because the answer is, of course, they don't want the best for us. And then I understood that my family was in trouble. And it wasn't like I felt they have fooled us of our history, who we are, about everything. And it was a very dark moment for me, of course. And it felt like falling into a black nothingness for a couple of seconds when it really hit me what has happened. And I wanted to find out. And the first thing that came up in my mind was, they have fooled us. Not they have fooled me, but they have fooled us. And I wanted to know why, who, and how we are going to wake up from this nightmare. Now, nightmare in brackets, because there are a lot of things that is good as well, but there are also things we have to change around for the better of us, for the better of humanity. And therefore the method and an esoteric method was important for me, because we have to transform, we have to change. We can't only talk about conspiracy theories, even though it is important to know what's going on, because you need to protect yourself. You need to be aware. You can't meditate in a temple on fire. So you have to look out for your surrounding and what's happening. But you can't get like stuck in it, because then you lose the work you have to do as well. So it's very hard to have a balance here. And I think I've started to find that balance after 20 years of hard work,
Well,
hard feelings. Yeah,
esotericism and alchemy is the way that they function. And, so when you said that you really had to go down that road, when you think of how they've done everything, they have done it through the use of these ancient alchemy, magic, understanding that the world is not physically fixed and that it can be manipulated. So,
exactly.
this is absolutely the way that they work. And the Age of Enlightenment, where they brought science in, was to actually hide how they work.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
true. And I started, yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm. And when you said that you met Lucifer, and you also mentioned that you did a specific kind of Kabbalah, you called it the Lurian Kabbalah, was it?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you
Yeah,
explain what that is?
yeah. There are different kinds of Kabbalah. The Lurianic Kabbalah aim is to go back to source, go back to light, They call the creator or the god or whatever you want to call it, the creator. Their aim is to go back to the creator, to source, and end the reincarnation circle. So they want to end it. And this is a right-hand path method because their goal is to go back to source and never to come back again. And according to them, that's the purpose for us. That's the purpose for the human race. We are here to have this experience and then go back to source, end the experience, and go over to a different state. They don't necessarily say that we will end or go into oblivion, but we will end up in a different state as spiritual beings. And this sounds good, and the method works, but there were things that like I had some questions and problems with it. For example, they work in groups, and they have a teacher and so on, and nothing wrong to have a teacher. But I am a little bit hesitant with group works these days because a lot of ego get in the way and you do stuff that you shouldn't do. It's hard to get the group together and start the work. You have to travel, you have to meet them, you have to schedule your time. Therefore, I searched for a method that you could be self-reliant. And when I started with the left-hand path, I also had different ideas of what the purpose of life is, where I clash a little bit with the Lurianic Kabbalists. And yeah, people
And
might.
what was that came to you that was clashing with the Lurian Kabbalah?
Yeah, it was the idea that the creator have created us, and then we have this experience, and then we go back to source to end our material experience. Because for me, we are created by the creator because the creator wants to feel himself through us.
Exactly.
Because otherwise he's all powerful, he can imagine everything, but he wants to feel the imagination through us. And I think this imagination have just begun, and we can help the creator to feel much more. And I think it's a mistake to go back to source because he have missed out a lot of experience through us because we have been trapped here through the demiurge. And I think we have just started this experience, and I think we can give creator much more feelings through us than we have done so far.
I agree. Yeah, because in essence, we actually have been robbed from our own evolution and
Yeah.
what we can achieve as beings that we are with prime creation in us. So that all has been, in essence, stolen, and we have lived stolen lives
Yeah,
over and over again. So
completely
I would,
agree.
yeah, I totally
Completely,
agree.
yeah, and also, if time is an illusion, surely the creator can wait for the illusion to end because time is nothing, right? If we discover, experience, it's just for the good. If it is an illusion anyway, then the creator will have more experience through us before we end this experience.
Exactly.
And Lucifer is the rebel, and he rebelled not that he have never stated that the creator doesn't exist. He first rebelled against the creator when he created this material illusion, because Lucifer said, this material illusion of yours will turn on you. And that is exactly what has happened. Now, what's going on here? Because Lucifer also stated that I am the first being the creator created. So is he talking to himself? Yeah, he is. The Lucifer is the rebel part of the creator that can never be trapped. No matter what happens, he will always escape. And through Lucifer, we can crack open this matrix again and start our journey.
Now, did Lucifer come to you as a male or a female?
He poured information, he poured image into me, but he came across as a beautiful man sometimes. For the most part, he doesn't take a grotesque form that some spirits do. He's a very fatherly figure, but he's also an androgen, right? He's like,
Right.
but as when he teach, he come across as quite masculine and fatherly like figure. And I looked into the sigil of Lucifer and asked him to show himself for me, because I asked him, do you exist? I want to proof. And I just meditate or visualize the sigil for 5 minutes. I didn't do the big ceremony or anything. And then I went to sleep. And just before I went into the sleeping mode, I saw sigils, alchemical symbols flashed in front of my face. And then I was ending up on Noah's Ark. And he showed me the scene through Noah's Ark. But this time the dove didn't return, but the raven, with a black olive twist in his beak, not the green one, but a black one. And this Noah's Ark have, of course, and this is what I like with Lucifer, because he takes you into your own, he wants you engage. What is this? What's happening? And I love that. And he knows that. I like to decode movies and so on. And I figure out what he wanted to say about it. And in my presentation, I will go into it a little bit more. But it's a very profound message he did.
Fascinating.
Because the story of Noah is very, I mean, they have used it for and misunderstood it completely, especially from a Christian perspective. It's not about saving all the animals on the boat. There's much more going on there, of course.
Looking forward to what you're going to reveal with this. I think it's fascinating. Do you think that Lucifer has fractalized him herself, because it's both male female? Isn't I mean he would be both male and female, right? I mean,
Yeah, he has many different masks.
mhm, mhm,
Many of them are actually masculine.
mhm.
But when he come as a young man, it is, it's had a little bit feminine feature to him. So you can say he's an androgen, but for the most part, he is quite masculine in his way. But some of his masks are like Janus, the two-faced god
Yes, yes.
from Rome. That's one of his masks. Uh, You have, some say Azazel is one of them. Maybe it can be discussed, but Prometheus is surely one of them in the Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And you have more. So he's a very complicated
Mhm.
spirit, and he has many different sides to him.
Do you think she fractalized him herself to become incarnated as flesh in those fractals throughout these thousands of years?
Yeah, it seems to, because they want to have access to the material world, and this scares people.
Yeah.
Because if they are this powerful, what do they want, and what will happen if they get access to the material world and so on? Are they really our friends? But I think they have had access to our planet before, the material world. I haven't stated that, but that I think is almost a given, but it can be discussed. But he has told me that they want access again, and they want to be here in the material world with us, but they don't want us to be slaves under the demiurge. They want us to clean out this place, and you don't have to worry that these powerful gods will overrun us, because Lucifer has said, when you wake up to your own godhood, when you realize your power, I will have a hard time to keep up with you. And therefore, we have everything we need. And that's our destiny. That's evolution. It's not like a fairy tale. It is our destiny.
And do you think that that Lucifer is the Lucifer that the covens and the elite try and follow, or is that a different being?
What has happened here is a very interesting and very sad thing. It is that you can contact Lucifer and you can communicate with him, even the elite. But here is the thing. The elite have lost their spark, their soul. Therefore, they use Lucifer as an information channel to enhance the technology. But they can't use Lucifer to ignite the spark because it's not there anymore. Their technology will get more powerful through spirits who helps them. And through the technology, they will create cracks in the matrix for us to escape through. Therefore, Lucifer is like a trickster.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he helps them, he also helps us. It doesn't feel like it, but this is the only way out of the matrix. For example, we have the internet now. We can communicate because they have given us internet. Now, there is a reason why they need internet. They have their agenda. Now it is about time. When they gave us internet, the start button to the countdown started. Now is time of now is a rat race between the spirit people who want to transform and the elite, and the mainstream in the middle. They will be passive, and that's sad. But Lucifer haven't decided this. It is what it is, and I will talk about more about this in the presentation. But this is what it is. We humans was very close to be only slaves to these forces. But we managed to escape these clutches. But the war is still going on for our soul and for our evolution, for our destiny.
Ultimately, the thing that I've been saying is that we are being used as their technology. So they're creating technology to use us as their ultimate technology because they don't have a soul, and because without us, they're eating themselves out of existence, because there's only a finite amount of energy that they have within themselves at the point when they lost their soul.
Yeah.
And so that, and what we have within us in terms of the ability to create is the substance, the oil that they're using. And they're going to do that through technology. They're going to do that through any means possible to enslave. So from your research, it seems like you've come, you're going to, this is all about that, really, ultimately.
Yeah. The reason why I focus on this is because I know this is the war. This is the end.
Yeah.
Either we wake up or we will end up as slaves
Yeah.
to the demiurge.
Yeah.
That there's no other way around this. This is it. And we can see it, we can feel it, and we have to do it now. We have to transform. We have to realize that we have been fooled, taking back everything, go back in history and realize what has happened. And as you said, they don't have the creativity, they don't have the soul, they don't have the spark themselves. So how can they create technology? Well, the answer is quite simple, because the technology has always been there. After Atlantis, this technology was spread. Now the technology was a little bit different, but the technology they create now do the same thing as the technology that they used before. This is another way of doing the same stuff they did before. They don't invent anything new. They only engineer, re-engineer what they already had. And they don't want to share that with us because that's the game.
Now, do you think, two questions. One is, do you think there's a difference between Satan and Lucifer? Two, do you think that these beings are not entirely human? These coven elites in origin of lineage, that they're connected to the Elohim, Anunnaki, Atlantean hybrids, Nephilim, Watchers, you know?
Yeah. Satan and Lucifer is not the same. When we talk about Satan in esoteric meaning, they can mean a lot of different things, like Anto Sandal called our ego Satan. And you should enhance your ego and take everything you could by force. Might is right, nonsense kind of stuff. But he didn't believe in a deity or god called Satan or a bad spirit or whatever. He was a materialist. Then you have esoteric people who worship Satan as an identity, as a spirit or as a force outside of them. And then you have like Luciferians. I view Satan as a rebel, part of the spirits, but I'm not specifically drawn to Satan. I much more prefer the Luciferian energy and how we come across. Satan is a little bit more teenage in his tone and how he present himself. And I haven't worked with the Satan, and I don't think I have to. There are better ways to go about this.
Who do you think Satan is? So Lucifer being the first creation, who then would be Satan?
Yeah, this is a very good question. They have jumbled this information around a lot because you can call Saturn Satan. Then this is a very hard pill to swallow for the Christians. But Saturn is Ninurta, and Ninurta is Enlil's son, and Enlil is Jehovah. So if that's the case, then if they say Satan is evil, well, it is Jehovah's son that is Satan. So if you call him evil, well, it's that's what the Christian Gnostic picked up in the year 0, and they really thought that the Christian God was the demiurge, and there is a truth to that. Now, some call Satan, another name for Satan is Samael, and Samael is very close to Lucifer. Then you come quite close to Lucifer and that kind of a force. If Satan is Samael, then it's a completely different thing going on here. Very misunderstood, because Samael has a bad rap. And you shouldn't work with Samael if you're into the elite mindset. And this is the thing, and this is what has happened. These people start to work with the left-hand path. They start to work with Lilith and Samael. And when you do, you need to go all the way, have the right mindset. You can't be a psychopath or a narcissist, because then you will fall. And when you fall, you will lose your spark. You will fall hard. You will be more into materialism than before, not the opposite. You need to have the right will mindset, and the reason why you will want to work with these forces. And of course, you have an esoteric elite know this, and then they have politician, easy to fool, give them a method. They know that this psychopath, narcissist, politician will not do it for the right reasons, because they can't. They will fall. They will fall, and they will film them film them and have movies on them when they do stupid stuff, and then they have them.
And so we have who Jehovah is. Then who is Yahweh?
Yeah, you can. Some say it's the same one. So Jehovah and Yahweh is the same God. It is debatable, really, because you can also say that Yahweh is Enki and Jehovah is Enlil. But they seems to, once again, jumble around the information a lot.
Right.
But
Exactly.
Jehovah is Enlil. And it is an Anunnaki God, chosen to be the one God. But from the beginning, it was not meant to be one God, but it was meant to be, I am Enlil, one of the Anunnaki gods. There are more gods than me, but you should worship me. That is exactly what you will find in the Old Testament, where the Jehovah God says, there are other gods, but you should worship me. And this is straight from the Sumerian, Babylonian mythology. You can see it very clearly that Enlil is Jehovah. And that's, of course, a very hard pill to swallow for the Christian.
Well, and in the Bible, the Elohim is not God, right? It's plural.
No.
It is a
Exactly.
pantheon of beings.
Exactly.
So would they be the Anunnaki,
Yeah,
Atlantean?
it is. And the word El is, you can attribute El to Jehovah if you want to, or his son. So there's many misunderstandings here, and it's a mess. And what I did to clear this out was to go back to source. I started to study Sumerian mythology very hard. Like when I study things, I go into it, and then I went to the Greek mythology, and I tracked all this and see where it went wrong, and how they have used the information to control power, banking, all of that. And it really comes from Sumer.
Yeah.
But Sumeria is, of course, a restart of civilization, and they are older from the Atlantean times, but this is the restart.
So do you know, I find it very interesting that in the linear history, you have BCE that has been going on for thousands of years. You can track it all the way. And then suddenly they decide to make it 0 and then 1 AD.
Yeah.
And they hijacked the entire calendar. They removed an extra month out of the year. They changed the beginning of when the new year is, which is not January. So everything changed. You lost 1 day a week. Everything in the linear time was completely hijacked. In that 0 1 AD, what happened? When you research, what have you deduced?
Yeah, this is a very hard topic, and what I think happened is that there are many. It's a long answer. So let me take you on a ride for a little tour. Rome was very close to implode the year 70. And it was because of the Jewish people. They rebelled against the Romans, 65 AD or 66. The Romans have had a huge border, so they waged war against, I mean, a lot of people. And they have lost many, many soldiers. And then this bothersome Jewish people started to rebel from inside as well. And Rome was on the brink of collapsing. Now what to do? The Jewish people waiting for this warrior Messiah. And they didn't view Jesus as their Messiah. They're still waiting for a warrior. That's a horrific thing for the Romans, because if this warrior Messiah would come now, everything would fall apart. Well, what do? We create a religion where we tell the Jewish people that their Messiah have already come. And this Messiah was of peace. And you have crucified this Savior. You are to blame. And you did it back then, back in time.
Right.
And I think they needed a huge shift in the mentality, because at the same time they wanted to pacify the Jewish people. They wanted to have a unifying religion to unify Rome into one people with one belief, who can withstand all the forces that came outside of them. They needed a huge event, like God was here, and to really take in all the different belief system within the Roman Empire and to unify them under one religion, to have a chance against these enemies of theirs. Now, I really think they took real characters from who have been like back then 30 or 30, but different esoteric people, like Polyos of what's his name, Ben Stada. I think they have taken some traits from an esoteric person called Ben Stada. I think they took some traits from another, Apollonius of Tyana. And I think they took one more person, and then they combined those esoteric people into one person. Now, it doesn't take away that these people was amazing. I really think they were amazing esoteric prophets, or amazing people. And you can see between the lines in the New Testament how powerful the message is, because it's not really completely gone, but they wanted to make the people pacified. Therefore, they have taken away a lot of stuff in there, but you can still piece it together and see the original teaching here.
Right.
What they try to teach you, the three of them, a little bit different teachings, but very close to each other. Now, to have a year zero is a very powerful message to send, to say, this is year 70. This person, we should give him when this God came about, it should be a zero, and we should unite around this religion to save Rome. Was the main idea here. And but the New Testament, it is profound, and this free prophets or esoteric masters, I think the character is based on, had a lot of knowledge, and we can see it. We can decode it really still. But he wasn't that peaceful Messiah they wanted to create out of this character to pacify. You can read it, and you can see he's clearly not a pacifist, or he's a rebel. He's not that person. What he's teaching is you can become like me through method and dedication, and you shouldn't be passive.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Greater than these things will ye do. There's in the ancient history, when you're trying to piece it all together, there was a point where the gods walked with man. Okay. Which I also think was around the time when this 0 AD came into being, when you see that some kind of a large exodus happened where they left, they were no longer walking with man, which is
Yeah,
very interesting.
it is. That is a very good question, and also very hard to discern, because in the Sumerian mythology, they are quite clear that these gods walked among us.
Hmm.
And when did they stop walking among us, and why?
Hmm. Exactly.
And I agree with you. It is, of course, more things going on here than only what I talked about. That's one layers upon this.
Hmm.
I think we don't have a clue exactly what was going on back then. I think a lot. And we can see it. It was like, yeah, a huge thing in in human history. And I think it was they were quite close to open up the stargates and so on through a couple of very powerful esoteric masters like the Jesus characters, because I think it is based on more persons, more people than one. Doesn't take away the powerful message, don't get me wrong here, because I'm not an esoteric left-hand path practitioner who like hates the New Testament because it's a Christian. You can clearly see a deeper message, and you know it because Jesus used some left-hand path method in the New Testament.
Like
Uh,
what?
when he died on the cross, you can there is a method in the left-hand path if you are very powerful and have done all the works, not all, but very, you have come very far. When you die and your light leave your body, you can have an implosion where you create an illusion of yourself. And then you can act on the material plane for a while before your hologram disappears.
Right.
And that is exactly what it's did.
Yeah. And apparently at the point of dying, there was a huge earthquake that
Mm,
happened, and the entire sky went black
yeah,
with a lot of lightning. So there was an absolute physics change at that moment to
yeah,
reality. Yeah. And that has been recorded. Yeah.
yeah. Very interesting take
Hmm.
on that, and yeah, a very profound thing happened there.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think the Romans tried to take advantage over what happened back then
Yeah.
to create this illusion and control. And make no bones about it, the Roman Empire is still alive and kicking today in Vatican. Therefore, they succeeded to save Rome.
And I think we are in Rome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So who do you think, when I asked in terms of the lineage of these the coven keepers, I call them, and the elites, right? What lineage origin do you think they are? And who was Noah also? What was, you know,
Yeah, very good question about Noah. I can give you the answer of the elite. And this is very interesting. You have Rothschild, for example. They claim to be ancestor of Nimrod. And who is Nimrod? Let's examine that, because then we have the answer. At least, not all the answers, but Nimrod was active when the Tower of Babel was created. But Nimrod didn't create the tower, but he destroyed the tower. Nimrod is Ninurta, and Ninurta is Saturn. So what's going on here? If we decode what's happening here, we have a lot of answers to the questions. Now, Nimrod was an esoteric priest who was worshipping Ninurta, Saturn. But during this time, and in esoteric practice, you're supposed to mimic your chosen god and take in the force and even get possessed by it, maybe. So he become an active force on the material plane on behest of Ninurta, acting out Ninurta's will in the material plane, destroying the tower, because the Mardukites, it was Marduk's priest class who built the tower. They try to open up the matrix the demiurge have created to go back to God again, or the gods rather. But Ninurta, Saturn, the demiurge, the black cube is a symbol of the demiurge Saturn force, didn't want this tower because they want us kept in here in this matrix prison.
Right.
Now, this is 1850 before Christ. And Rothschild claims ancestry to this priest class who are or have, according to themselves and according to the mythology, genes from the gods, because they are 1/10 god, or one depends on how much they have intermarriage and so on, and kept the bloodline. And therefore they intermarriage, and an esoteric method through the Ninurta Saturn demiurgic force, you can learn how to have a conscious reincarnation back to the same blood family. Now you can have plans for thousands of years because you come back to the same banking scumbags and continue on their goal through many hundreds of thousands of years. And that is exactly what we see today.
So they,
And
oh, sorry, continue.
and it is easier to have a conscious reincarnation back if to the same blood family you worked in before. So, and this is a method, and yeah.
So they basically are reincarnating into the same family lineages to continue doing the same thing. So they just keep on, from where they left off, essentially.
Exactly. And that's the answer, because let's say they want to have 90% of people in servitude. Why would they want that? If they come back in the next reincarnation and they become one of the serving class, they don't want that. They want to be the elite. They want to be in control. They don't want to kick themselves in the ass. They don't
Yeah.
want to mess around with their own destiny.
So who are the groups that represent them? Because instantly what I think of is the little cube that, certain religious sects will wear. Okay. I don't want to say the name, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Some of those people are among these people, yes. During their they were captured and taken to Babylon, learned the art of banking and so on. And some of them, yes, are among our enemy. But they make no bones about it, because they use their own as cannon fodder to advance their own agenda. They don't care at all about the mainstream man.
Oh,
They
yeah.
view them as people they can use for their own agenda. They are not loyal to any race or country. They are loyal to a plan or to a philosophy.
Oh, yeah. That I've noticed throughout, like, the things that have been orchestrated, that it's been done by them, actually,
Mm.
for the most part. Yeah, so I agree. Do you think that these lineages have any metaphysical abilities that are more activated in them? Longevity, like we're talking, things that are just kept secret, but that allows them to have more to function with.
Yeah, I th I think they have access to the astral realm, but they can't pass that realm, and that's where they get lost because they want to go over that plane as well. Now they need technology. They have methods how to have a conscious reincarnation and methods that comes to their god, who is the demiurge Saturn. They don't worship Lucifer as such. They worship Lucifer bound. What I mean by that is that in the Greek mythology, you had this Zeus character captured Prometheus and he was chained on the Caucasus mountain, and the eagle packed his liver every day. And through the liver, in the Greeks thought that you could see the future into the liver. You can do divination from the liver. Zeus wanted to see what Lucifer, Prometheus knew. They only want to use Lucifer for their own agenda and keep his force out for the rest of us.
Right.
And they do it through propaganda, like tell you that he is evil, look. But they get some knowledge out of him. But that will only create cracks in the demiurgic matrix in the long run, and a way for us to exit. But they are bound to do this because they will never get satisfied. They want to push their agenda further and further out in space, and preferably they hope to also cross dimensions, right, through technology and so on.
Like CERN. Hmm.
Like CERN, exactly.
Hmm. So in this, Odin and the Nordic gods, I mean, the way I see it is, for each civilization, they just change their identity,
Yeah,
essentially. So
yeah.
is Odin different? Is he another one of these Anunnaki gods in the pantheon of the Elohim?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Odin there is a misunderstanding once again, because Odin is not a god. Odin was an esoteric master who transformed into a god. So he's a teacher. He is like Merlin in a Merlin character,
Hmm.
and he's actually very fatherly and not unpleasant at all. But the Olympian, the Greek gods, are the same as the Anunnaki gods. The Egypt gods are the same as the Anunnaki gods, and the Asa gods, the Viking gods, are the same. But remember, Odin is not what they tell you he is. He was an esoteric master who used the method to transcend, and become
So
God.
he actually was successful in part.
Yeah, he was. But then you have to ask yourself, what method did he use? Did he use the gods? And there,
Exactly.
I think, no,
Hmm.
we have to go back to where it all went wrong before the sky gods took
Hmm.
over. I mean, the Anunnaki gods.
And what about the Indian gods and the Asian gods?
Yeah, the Indian gods are a different family,
Mhm.
and there are different families of spirits, like the jinns,
Yeah.
uh, and the Indian shamanistic gods.
Yeah.
Then you have the Voodoo gods.
Yes.
So there are different families. So you should discern who you want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And I have allied myself with the Watchers, with the ancient gods.
Mm-hmm.
One who people view as dark,
Mm-hmm.
who I view as feminine. I think these Anunnaki masculine light sun gods have mesmerized us, kept us in the light, in the lie for too long. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that the masculine is bad. We need combination in a good way between the feminine and the masculine. But we can clearly see that for 2000 years it has been horrible, way too much masculine energy
Mm-hmm.
here.
Oh, I
Purpose.
agree. Purposefully.
Yeah.
Do you think that some of these coven members are actually like Nephilim bloodlines? Because when you talk about the Nephilim and the hybrids and the Watchers, we're now going into non-human beings.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of the Nephilims was corrupted
Mm-hmm.
and taken over.
Mm-hmm.
Some are still there and are good. All of us who are here or are into Western esoteric traditions have Nephilim blood in us. So if you curse them, you curse yourself. And in the Nephilim, you have the ability to transform if you haven't lost your spark. You have the ability to transform into a god or godlike being. Now, we are limited when we have our body, but you ain't your body. And this material realm is only 1 to 5% of totality of reality. When I tell you that you are a god, then of course I talk about your light source and the fact that you can travel and leave this matrix. We are like in our mind, we think this is all there is because we have been used to it and brainwashed washed us to believe it, but it's just a minute, very small part of totality of reality.
Mm-hmm. So, in your mind, through the research, your conclusion with regards to who the Nephilim are versus the Watchers versus the fallen angelics
Yeah.
and the Elohim.
Yeah, I hope I can make it more clear through my presentation, but there are differences there, yes.
Okay.
And also misunderstandings, very many misunderstandings. And because the religion, Christianity, have the paradigm spread for so long, and their version, their narrative, their myth making way too long, and they have fooled us on so many levels. And the Vatican, you find the Jesuits in the Vatican, they don't believe this themselves. It is only a control mechanism for the mainstream man, but they don't believe it themselves. It's a lie, it's a noble lie in order to control humanity. While they self don't believe this in the core.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it's an inversion of the truth. So in order to hide it, they're gonna I always found it interesting, especially, throughout the Bible where it really doesn't encourage you to go seeking astrology or it
Yeah,
basically says, you will be damned if you go near any of these things, which I always found very interesting, given that that is the very thing itself that is used to discover all of this.
exactly.
So, but yet that is a very good control mechanism. So if you can discourage a population from truly delving into the esoteric nature of reality, then you do have an easy means to control them.
Exactly. That is exactly what they have done.
Yeah,
It is easier than you think. You take a profound truth and then you invert it because something echoes in the fact that you build something from a true core. This is the same with the movies. When we watch Matrix, we're like, this is something that draws me in because there are profound truth there. And movies that resonate from a core of truth will always be interesting if they do a good work with it, because we feel the authentic, that it is authentic, an authentic core in the message, what we are viewing. And that is exactly how they created Christianity. They have a core, and then they keep some good part of it, and then they spread lies from the authenticity of it.
exactly. Now, you had mentioned that you follow the Watchers, and you said that in your presentation you're going to go into the differences between the Nephilim, the Watchers, the Elohim, and the fallen angelics,
Yeah.
the fallen angels. Um, did you want to go into your presentation now, or?
Yeah, we can do it. If you
Sure.
want to.
All right,
Let's
so
do it.
I think you'll be able to share screen, no problem.
Great. I hope. Yeah, it seems.
I'm curious, before you get into your presentation, because of your research, do you think that you got on their radar? I mean, you're not going to escape them, especially with this.
Yeah, I am quite known
Mhm.
because I have had a lecture in Sweden, and I was on a conference that was very controversial. They tried to shut it down, and I was
Oh,
the first. I was the first speaker on that conference, and there were doctors there who have researched the medicine agenda going
mm,
on.
mhm.
He asked me questions, and afterward, when we went home in our car, we were stopped by a cop, and it is very unusual. It was middle of nowhere, dark, and the cop didn't know why he was stopping us. I think they hoped that we would panic and they would have an excuse to do something. But he was really, it was very strange experience.
Wow. And so how did that seminar go?
Yeah, it went good. They infiltrated us with the newspaper from Sweden, a communist newspaper who tried to scare people in telling the truth. And
Mm,
I was the first speaker, and I was like, because I've worked as a teacher before, and I did a very good impression, and people standing up, and I had a standing ovation, and yeah, I set the bar, and everyone was high spirited after that.
wow.
Yeah, and I met people who was born into these families,
Mhm.
DuPont, and yeah, very powerful people there, and they all gravitated towards me. And you always have different thoughts after a thing like that, but I have decided to take the step. I can't wait anymore. I can't.
Mm,
I don't have. I don't. I can't afford to be afraid.
mhm. No, we can't, and not anymore.
No, it is war, and it is war over time. We have to do our part, I think.
And what was their reaction when they came to you, the DuPonts and the other
Yeah,
families?
it was a woman who was born into the ponds from Belgium, and she was. I've broken with the family, but she had traumas and memories, and I was speaking in the same language as they were because I was an esoteric, and she
Mm-hmm.
was upset by it. And I tried to calm her down, and I asked her, "Don't you think it's a good thing that I have researched this? Because when you come to me, I know that you tell me the truth because I know it is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk to these people, they might say you're strange, you're lying.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it good that we can talk? And if I didn't have this lecture,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't you wouldn't find me." And
Right.
I get her number and everything, and yeah, I think she calmed down.
Yeah. Incredible.
Says it was very powerful. It was last year, actually, 1 year ago from now. Um, and I have had spirits attacking me, uh,
Mm.
magicians. I have all kinds of, yeah,
Yeah. That's what I was kind of worried about because I know how they operate.
yeah, horrible people, horrible forces.
Mm-hmm.
There is a war, and the watchers have told me so. It's not a secret.
Oh,
It's a,
it's the worst kind of war because it's a war that's after your soul. It's actually after the very essence of your being. I mean, when you think of what that means, it's it makes death look like a walk in the park.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, horrible things,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
All
And
right.
I feel protected. I know that I have the watches behind me.
Mm-hmm.
On
Yeah.
the Invite show about Lilith, Fire and Lust, the
Mm-hmm.
fifth one, I was pleased with my presentation and everything, but you know, when you delivered your stuff, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
went into the kitchen and my girlfriend went behind me. And when we were there, we saw the lamp in the roof just flared up
Wow.
and went down again to normal light. And that is the first time that has happened with that lamp, and then normal again. And my girlfriend was like,
Yeah.
"That
Yeah.
wasn't normal." And I said, "No." But it didn't feel unpleasant, rather the opposite. It was a way to say thank you.
Mm-hmm. And probably a way for them to let you know that they were right there in your presence guarding you.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, profound. Yeah, I would say you're very guarded. Maybe you can explain to us who the Watchers are and their lineage and everything else. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do a try. And I have a quite long presentation. I hope it take 1 hour. I will try to have it straightforward.
okay, so
I,
do you want to take 5 minutes? Because it's been an hour and a half. So do you want to take
mm,
5 minutes before we go into this?
yeah, sounds great.
Okay. All right. All right. So the other question too is who is Enki in this agenda?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I will go into that as well in this presentation, and I hope I can give you an answer to the question.
Okay.
I will at least make it clearer than, because there are always this agenda to like make a lot of things. They have a clear mythology, and then the people have made some stories, or they didn't understand what the mythology was about, and they have jumbled around the stories, and yeah, it's a mess.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, the other thing I'm going to ask you, yes, who's Enki, who's Marduk in this agenda, and blood
Mm,
types. So,
yeah.
because when we're looking at blood types, and we're looking at lineages, I know that they target specific lineages. And so I think that the O negative and also other blood types, and the fact that they hide a lot of information about the blood types, most of the information is hidden, right? And I
Yeah.
think it plays into all of this.
Yeah.
So
Agree.
we're ready.
All right. A presentation I put together. I hope you will enjoy it. And as usual, I try to make it look good and entertaining as well. Not all the facts, but a good presentation. And I hope you will enjoy it. Yeah, my name is David Block, and I call this presentation When the Sky Falls in 8 Parts. And it will be in 8 parts. Part 1, the past and high tech. Part 2, Noah and the flood. Part 3, Sumerian gods and giants. Part 4, the Tower of Babel. Part 5, the Black Sun. Part 6, CERN and Internet. Part 7, Revelation and the Moon. Part 8, When the Sky Falls. And I will try to make it as clear as I can. And of course, I will use the graphic in a way that will help to understand what I'm talking about, not to be good looking. Part 1, past and high tech. Yeah, what we have to understand is that they have fooled us about our real history for a very specific purpose, right? And what they don't want us to know is that there have been civilizations before Sumeria. They want us to believe that civilization began in Sumer, but it didn't. It didn't, and we know it today. Then the question is, what kind of a civilization and what kind of knowledge and technology did they have, and what happened? I think after Atlantis, there were a couple of different groups, and they argued about the technology. Some groups because this technology had been used in a war, and it was a world-destroying technology, therefore very dangerous, especially if you ain't a spiritual person. To handle this technology is not very pleasant. Therefore, some of these people decided to hide it. Some of this technology they wanted to destroy. Some of the reason why they tried to hide some of the tech was because this technology was very powerful and hard for them to destroy. And they hide some of this technology on the moon, on Mars, and other planets, and some went underground in tunnels. And we know that the elite today dig tunnels and so on. And there's a reason for it.
And what is this technology? How would you describe the technology itself?
Yeah, I am one person who take this very literally and serious. I think we have had technology on this planet before that we could call a type 2 civilization. A type 2 civilization can manipulate with solar force or suns and take energy from suns. That kind of a power, that kind of a technology, very powerful technology. And it is hard for us to wrap our mind around this, but the technology for the most part was based on crystals and so on. They didn't have computers, but they can communicate with each other with crystals and other means. Today we re-engineer the technology, but through other means. But nothing of this is new.
Do the
The
pyramids play a
problem,
part in this?
yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
And you were saying the problem is
Yeah, the problem is Um, um, now I get a little lost here.
Oh,
Yeah, we can talk about the pyramid first. Yes, uh, the pyramids was a big part of this. It seems to be or was a grid. This temple, this building is put on ley lines connecting with each other. And the pyramid is misunderstood. I know that many people view it as good. And I think, yes, in times they have used the pyramid for good purposes. I think the technology can change over time. And I think the pyramids are way older than we think. And I think this Atlantean period was lasted for thousands upon thousands of years. Therefore, this is only the end of a huge time span where they use technology for different reasons. And I think a very nefarious group of Atlantean took over this tech and changed it and used it against us. And I think that the pyramids became a part of a system to harvest our energy force. And this solar energy stealing thing is also through us, because we are a sun as well. Within us, we are a sun in the making. We are gold. The sun are gold. And the Anunnaki came here to mine gold, right? To steal solar energy from our sun and our energy, our gold within us. They are here to use us as a source. And of course, we can go back to the movie Matrix again, right? They are really telling you stuff there, according to me. And this technology, they have had a hard time to reproduce it, because our planet was destroyed, not in totality, but through the technology. During this period, we had gone back to a Stone Age situation where you still had some elite knowing about the technology, but they couldn't produce it, because if you produce the technology, you need factories and an infrastructure in place, and that infrastructure was gone through a global catastrophe. And I don't think it was meteorites or stones from the space who destroyed the civilization. I think it was a war that destroyed the civilization through technology. And if I can speculate a little bit, that if you can take solar energy from our sun and transfer it to Saturn, for example, who seems to be a sun as well, then you have the mythology about the Saturn golden age the elite want to recreate. Well, if they have technology in place who can take solar force from our sun and transfer it to Saturn, then Saturn becomes like a battery where you can recharge it through solar force. And maybe that is the rings that going on there, and the crystal in the Saturn rings and so on. I can't say that I know that, but it would explain why did the Anunnaki came to mine gold. Because I don't believe for a second that they are talking about gold as the material gold.
and do you
Now they
think?
can, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say that through the augmentation, the alteration in the genome, we can tell that a lot of copper and gold was removed from our DNA, from our body, and what was replaced was iron. And that was a way to hack the genome to actually further corrupt and devolve us, right? Which I think has a lot to do with what they did.
Yeah, very interesting take. And yeah, and physical gold is also something they wanted, because physical gold is good for to lead electricity. And that's part of this grid, the grid between temples and so on. And imagine a grid with temples, pyramids, structure over the globe, and on ley lines, aiming at the sun or a fixed star like Sirius or Ban or wherever, to transfer solar energy from our sun to another star. And the Anunnaki claim that they have different kinds of fixed star under them, like Aldebaran, Sirius, Betelgeuse. They claim this star as their own. Now they came here to mine gold, maybe to transfer our solar force to their star, fixed star, through technology. Therefore, they came here to mine gold. And if they can connect us with a planetary grid as batteries, and now I come to very dark stuff, then they can mine us as well, use us, take our energy.
And what would they use to do this? And also, was this when they brought the moon in? Ancient Native Indian lore says that the moon wasn't always here, that it was actually brought here.
Yeah, I think the moon is part of this system. And we will talk about it later on. But it is part of this system. And I know this is far out, but allow me to put my case for you. And you don't have to agree with everything I say, but I will give you as much evidence as I can. And we will talk about Enki and Enlil and so on, and this grid of the gods. And yeah, it's a huge story here.
How did they mine our gold? You know, I know you'll get into that. So
yeah, this is a very strange thing with the pyramids. Seems to be the main hub for the mining operation. When I did a presentation on Eon Byte, and I didn't know this person, but it was one in the commentary field who said, I had a DMT trip where I saw a huge reptile over the pyramid mining our our DNA or energy. And I didn't know that person at all. I didn't have any, like, but he has put it out there in the commentary field. And that is the second person who said that to me from a different source. And this, of course, you can say this is only fantasy and so on, but allow me to put the case in place in front of you, and we will see, because we will see this elite today mimicking this process, because they are re-engineer everything with a different kind of technology, but the effect will be the same through a different technology. Therefore, I think this pyramid we see in Gaza and in Giza, in Giza and so on, they've been stripped of their technology, because it was a war over this technology after this destruction of Atlantis, because there were different priest class, esoteric priest class, who couldn't re-engineer the technology at hand because the infrastructure wasn't in place. Therefore, it became a war over the technology that existed. Therefore, I think the pyramid are stripped, and what you see is only the shell of a machine there. Powerful machine.
Mhm.
And I think the capstone was made of gold, and it could aim a beam from that capstone into specific sun.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this matrix is nothing new. And I used to say that we can see how, if we analyze how the esoteric elite behave today, we can know how they behaved before, because they have the same agenda. Nothing has changed. They have different technology, but the aim is to have the same effect or outcome. And you will see this today done through computers, electric wires, interplanetary internet aimed at our moon, and on we go. But they have almost completed this infrastructure grid again. Therefore, they will have the same effect they had before. I don't think they will have a type 2 civilization soon, like being able to use and manipulate solar energy, but they will have it quite soon. That's the next step for them. We can see this in tarot decks as well. Now, I know that the cards, of course, now, there are layers upon layers upon layers of meaning here. So please don't misunderstand me here. Now I'm talking about this card in this paradigm I try to present to you right now in this framework. So let's take a look at it, because the elite seems to manifest what you can do from within outside of them with technology. If you can go to the moon through your soul, through soul traveling, they will go to the moon with technology. If you can go to the moon, you can be sure that there are infrastructure already on the moon. Everything as within, so without, as above, so below. There is a mimicking going on here. We seems to manifest everything we can do from within outside of us. The tower card have layers of meaning, but we can see the tower is falling, and you can see an eye above the tower. And the eye is not the Illuminati Horus eye, but it is the eye of Shiva. Now, some people may remember that outside of CERN, you will find a Shiva statue, for example. Just coincidence, no, nothing to worry about, right? But then you go to another card. The left card is from Aleister Crowley's very famous deck. To the right, you have a card from Hexen 2.0, and that particular card, tarot card, they gave it a prize, an art prize from CERN. CERN gave the lady who have designed the deck a prize. What's the odds? And here you can see the card, the tower, and you see like internet, DARPA, data mining, total information awareness program, all the nice stuff, right? And it is the tower card. What's going on here? So what happened before? Let us go back again now to Noah and the flood, and we talked about this before, but this is a huge thing, and people are completely missing the point here. Therefore, we have to, if you're going to make sense of what is happening today, we have to go back to the flood and what happened here. Well, we have to go back to the Anunnaki gods, Enlil and Enki, and to understand who they are. Enlil is Jehovah. It is the Christian God. And in the Old Testament, it states, he flooded the earth. And I connect this incident with Atlantis and the fall of Atlantis and what happened there. And the Watchers call Jehovah, the Christian God, the golem God, the false God. And they said they wanted to flood humanity because he wanted to get rid of humanity. Because humanity have made too much noise outside of our earth or the material plane. Through technology, through spirit, for soul travel, we could create some noise outside of this material realm, and didn't like it. He liked very much the idea of a closed matrix system, where we were food for the gods, or soul energy, solar energy, gold energy. He decided to flood the planet. And you can claim it was in the end of the war in the Atlantic period, or you can claim it was slightly afterwards, or I don't really know. But what I do know is that the tale is about much more than the flood, because what is water? And now we have to talk about Enki. And Enki is Enlil's brother. And Enki is, of course, the devil in this tale, right? Because Enlil, Jehovah, has to be the good God, but he ain't. But Enki has many names. Among other names, he has Poseidon. Therefore, Enki is also water. In Egypt, he was called Ptah, and he's attributed to science and magic and water. And water holds memory, and water is also metaphysical water. When you travel through water, you also travel through the metaphysical. Therefore, you have to discern, what are they talking about? Are they talking about physical water, or are they talking about metaphysical water? What are they talking about? Now, the Hebrew letters are very interesting. And to unravel the truth behind this myth, you have to understand that the meaning of Hebrew and the letter is mem. And mem is water, because these letters mean a lot of different things. And mem, the Hebrew letter mem, means water, people, nations, language, and tongues, and of course, memory. What did the golem god wanted out of this flood? He wanted us to sever us from our memory, to forget the past, to take everything from us, to drown us in water, to take away our language. And this is familiar from a later story about the tower. And language is also science, because it is through language we can express a certain thing. We can have a scientific language, we can have a mythology language, but without language, or a certain language, we cannot share information, explain hard metaphysical ideas. For example, math 2 + 2 is 4 is a precise language, but it only means 4. if you limit the language, if you take our memory from us, if you drown us, if you create a catastrophe, then we will be completely in the dark. And there humanity was fractured, and Enlil hoped that we would be servant slaves that couldn't disturb the gods anymore. And if he get his way, he even wanted us gone. At least he wanted our servitude. To forget what we could become, to forget the past, to take our memories from us, who we were. And he shattered our DNA structure. And today the scientists call it junk DNA. But that 22 strands of DNA you can awaken again within you through method. But it is only through work. This was the plan, but a couple of problems here. Anki is Poseidon, is water. Therefore, the Watchers stated that the golem god didn't understand that through the process of drowning humanity, he also gave us the possibility to rise up again. He can't drown humanity in water because we are made of a lot of water. He can smash us and he can make it harder for us for a while. But in water is also memory. He wanted to wipe clean through the same process, but that can't be done. But he almost succeeded. And the Watcher stated a couple of things here that is very interesting. And now the Nephilim comes into the story as well. And we have to understand some numbers in the Old Testament before we go forward. But you have this water, this flood, for 40 days and 40 nights before Noah entered land. Now, this is the problem with the story. Because the religious people, the Christians, think that, yeah, he got access to land and this is a triumph. No, this is a failure, right? He took material ground again. He tried to travel through metaphysical water as far as he could towards the crater before the golem god Enlil drowned humanity. He wanted to push his way through the metaphysical to reach the crater, the god, the real crater, before it was too late. But he failed. And everyone knows this who have studied the Zohar. Because what's happened next with Noah and his sons is a horrible story. If you know that, you know what happened. And Noah became desperate and started to drink wine. And of course, wine is a method. For example, water is only water. If you enhance the water with some substance like your blood or wine, you charge the water with a metaphysical substance, and it becomes a metaphysical vessel. It is more complicated than that. But Noah became desperate because he have taken land. He has taken material land. And this is exactly what Lucifer showed me. No, Noah didn't succeed. He should continue to take his boat further out. He should follow the crow, the raven, to deeper waters. But he gets scared and followed the dove to material ground again, and therefore he failed. The Watchers told me, in order to save humanity, they had put another lady on the boat called Nama. And Nama is Lilith's sister. And with her, she carried knowledge that we needed in order to awaken again. But from the Watcher's point of view, humanity was very close to be doomed here. And to save humanity, they have to upgrade humanity again after Enlil's attack upon us. Therefore, it's stated in the Bible that the Watchers came down here to have sex with human women. But what they're saying here is they upgraded humanity again to be able to withhold the spark that Nama planted within the human race for you to ignite through the dark waters inside of you. And when you ignite that spark, you will start to ignite your DNA again, that Enlil shut down through the flood in order to slave you under him. And we can see this because 42 means completion. For example, the Jews were walking in the desert and they're working, traveling around 40 years trying to find something. And the scientists think it is, they take it literally, right? They search for a new esoteric method to go forward on the journey towards the metaphysical. When 41 appears in the Old Testament, it means that they have taken one step closer to the goal. And when 42 appears in the Old Testament, it means a completion of that search for a new metaphysical level. Now you will have this in Revelation again, and I will tell you later on what it means. Because it means completion, but completion of what? Mm. And from whose perspective? Mm-hmm. So you see, after this, we entered what we can call a slumber state, where we completely forgot who we were, who we are. And propaganda have made it very hard for us to accept what I am saying now. It's very hard for people to accept, right? 2 billion people is Christian, 2 billion is Muslims. They will never accept this. There are very few who can break the programming and start to uphold the possibility that I can be right. Only that is a brave thing to do today, I think. But I see the programming start to break down. But the Watchers didn't try to destroy us. They tried to save us from the eternal state of slumber. And today, more and more people are drawn to try to ignite the spark again because they feel something within them. And you can. You still have the spark. And the Nephilim, they are more pure Nephilims. And I am afraid that some of the elite, yes, are Nephilims who have tried to keep their gene pool clean or clearer, but have been corrupted. And I also think they have mixed themselves with the Anunnaki gods. But we can break the surface of this slumber again. I know we can. and we can see the war going on, or have more intense. It had become more intense in the last few years, and I will explain why. Therefore, the Watchers shouldn't be understood as evil forces, but as our ancient gods who were here before the Anunnaki gods, before the Demiurge, and we had a relation with this god in a natural state before, long time ago. And they want to take back the period before, take us back to the period before this happened with the Anunnaki and the forces who try to hold us down. They really want us to wake up. And the awakening process is harsh. Doesn't mean that they want us harm. They want transformation. They want us to break free from this prison. Therefore, some of them fall here with us, the fallen angels. You can say that Samael is a fallen angel, and when you start to work with Lilith and Samael, you start to work yourself, you start to work your awakening process from within the matrix. Therefore, they fell here with us in order for us to destroy the matrix from within through us. Meaning we can have access to these forces, and when we have and do the right thing, because you can misuse this as well, then you start to destroy the matrix black cube from within. And our DNA is a big part of this, because they have lied. The 22 strands of DNA ain't junk DNA. And the Watchers have stated it very clear. This is a spark. The Enlil, golem god, tried to drown us and shut down our DNA. They placed this spark within us in order for us to be able to ignite it once again. But you have to go through layers of dark mental layers within us to reach there. It is buried in us, in the dark recess of man. But the elite have lost this spark. And that's where the trouble begins. Then they can't overcome the demiurge. And I will talk about it later on. They can try through technology. And we all have already talked about this part, but can mention it again. The art of mining gold. I know that many people believe that the Anunnaki come here for physical gold. I view it as a symbology and as a deliberate way to fool us. It's much more profound than that. They rather came here to mine our gold and our sun's gold or force, energy. To transform solar energy from one solar body to another. And this sounds very far out, but through Tesla technology, if they hadn't destroyed Tesla's tower and so on, he would be able to do the same thing in the long run. So it's not that far out. And this part, its name is Sumerian Gods and Giants. And we have already talked about the pyramids as well. And I know it's hard pill to swallow because many people see them as something good. And don't get me wrong, I think the pyramid have been used for good purposes in periods of time. where the right guys had hold over them. But it's like our mobile phones. They gave us some mobile phones, and it was very good from the beginning. And then they slowly but surely put the 5G antennas up. And now it ain't that good. It's very easy. And that's how they do things, to take us in.
Mm-hmm.
And then they stab us in the back with the technology. And Sumer was really a restart of civilization. And this is very interesting in the Old Testament. Like, they had the flood. And right after the flood, they tried to build this tower. But what happened in between her? Or is it like very close in history? I think a big chunk of history is lost here. So let us analyze what has happened here and what is this all about. Now, imagine that you want to have a restart of civilization. Then you have to start with the agriculture, start to have crops and so on. And from there on, you start to build city-states. But in Sumer, the cities was city-states. They were a country in and of themselves. When these city-states start to rise up, they start to worship different Anunnaki gods in the different cities. So if you travel to Babylon, they worship Marduk, for example. At least in the heydays of when Babylon was at its peak. If you went to Eridu, they worship Enki. And this is a problem. This became a problem. There were many wars between the cities and between the priest class dedicated to different gods. And wars and civil war was a common thing. That's not a good base to have if you want to create an empire. Secondly, they still had technology from the period of Atlantis, and we can read this in the Old Testament where God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah from a kind of a nuclear blast, or whatever you want it to be, but some kind of tech anyway, some technology. Now in Babylon, 1800 or rather 2000 BC, a new era of Marduk worship, or the first big Marduk epoch in Babylon took hold. They choose Marduk as their god, who they worshipped. But it didn't mean that they said that we don't believe in the rest of the gods. What they said is, in this town, in Babylon, we choose to worship Marduk as the main god, the chosen god among the Anunnaki gods. And this was an obvious thing from the beginning, that all the gods existed, but we chose one of those gods to worship. We didn't deny the other gods. Now, if you have a priest class attached to this god Marduk in Babylon, and you attach banking to that god, and you said that printing money is a godlike thing to do, and the priest class is the one who should control the money flow, and they are the one who put the sigil stamp on the gold coin, and then they start the banking attached with esoteric practices. And there you have it, the start of the modern banking system, and who are in control of it. You will find Rothschild, for example. It begins here. Now, if you want to have a global new world order, now this kind of a system becomes a problem. Because if you went to Eridu, then Enki's priest class minted their coins and their money and their banking. Now, what to do? Let's say like this. Marduk is the god of choice, and he should be worshipped. The next step is you should only have one god, and the other god should not exist. Like, I am the only god. Because then all the banks, all the city-states print coin under one god, one priest class, under one banking, not family, but families. And now you can start to spread civilization through banking and through one god that will hold the new world together. Because if you have many gods, many wars, many bankings, many different families, you will always have war and struggle and chaos. Therefore, this turned out to be, yeah, this is the choice of God. We choose this God, but the other gods exist too. You shall have one God, and there are, like in the Old Testament, you have this famous phrase like, yeah, there are many gods, but you should worship me. And that's the end of it. And if you don't, we will punish you, torture you, and burn you. It will always end like that. And it will, if you want to create a stable empire, at least. And this, it started a push to go there. And we will see this, especially with Cyrus the Great, for example, who created the Persian Empire. And then Alexander, who spread the Greek Empire. They have always backed up people who want to create empires, like Cyrus the Great, like Alexander, like the Roman Empire, and then through the Vatican and the Catholic faith, Christianity, to take over and to go around the planet and force people to worship Jehovah Enlil as the only God. This is the birth of the idea of the New World Order. And the reason is very simple, of course. They want to go back to the infrastructure they had. This is the plan. And to do it, they need a global empire, a new world order, an infrastructure. Now let's go back one more time, because we need to explain a couple of things before we go back to there. Well, you have a god above Enki and Enlil, and that is Anu. So Enki and Enlil is his sons. And Enki star is Sirius. And Sirius number is 33. And Sirius is the dog star.
Tar hand om det.
Don't say I, sorry. Oh, what's happening? Sorry, what happened?
Oh, that's odd.
Very odd. Sorry. Oh, yeah, you can edit, I hope. Yeah. Enki is Sirius. Star Sirius is Enki's star, the dog star. Marduk's planet is Jupiter. And then you have Enlil. What planet does Enlil rule? Well, that's a little bit in the dark. We don't really know, but we know that Enlil took over Jupiter. And Enlil's sun in Nurta is Saturn. Now, what are we talking about here? We are, of course, not talking about the planet and the stars and so on, but we are talking about the force behind the planets, the stars. And the force behind these bodies you can manipulate or claim or distort through technology, to distort Saturn's sound or vibration slightly. You have another energy grid coming at us. And Saturn is the last planet before the illusion became matter. The illusion, the light, the vibration, the sound becomes solid. Saturn is the planet that, if you view the planets as computer ships, then Saturn is the last ship that all energy, sound, light go through before it becomes solid. If you can distort it slightly, then we have a false picture of reality. Therefore, Saturn is very important. And Saturn is under Ninurta's rule. The program is Ninurta. The program behind Saturn is Ninurta. And Ninurta is Enlil's son, and Enlil is Jehovah. Now, Enlil waged war against Marduk because Marduk is another faction of the Anunnaki. Marduk is really Enki's son. And you can see Anki is the devil among the Anunnaki, and Enlil is the light, or God, or Jehovah. Now, in this mythology, Enlil takes over Jupiter from Marduk, meaning that the Enlil side of things, who are farmer gods, and the Enki side are shepherd gods, and I will explain that soon, meaning that the Enlil family of the Anunnaki rules Saturn, Jupiter, and the Sun. And these planets are gas planets, and I would say they are suns. Some of them are in gas form and are dead, and some of them are in the making. Like Jupiter is a sun in the making, Saturn is a previous sun, and our sun Hellas is the sun. Now, what happened? Because there was a war between these families. And some say that Enki is really on our side. And Enki is attributed with magic and science, and Poseidon and water. And you can say that the Watchers was able to save us through the Enlil Jehovian flood through Enki, because Enki is water, is Poseidon. Therefore, Enki is a trickster or an infiltrator who have taken the side of humanity. Why would he do it? Because Enki, Enlil, and these forces start to be quite removed from us. They had a hard time to have a material form and to have an impact on the material plane. Therefore, they gave over the right to rule to the younger Anunnaki. Now, if you are 100% God, you will have a hard time to have access to the material plane. But Enki took a woman who was a human woman as a wife. Now Marduk is half God and a half human, meaning it is easier for him to have access to the material world. And Marduk himself took a human woman, to his wife, and got Nabu. Now we have 1/3 God, but mostly human. Now they have a demigod class of human gods who can act upon the material plane and do the god's bidding, or they can become corrupt and start their own agendas down here. And because Enki became quite removed, it was quite easy for Marduk to start his own agendas. And Enki became removed and was his star was Sirius. Now Marduk, when he defeated Ninurta in the Greek mythology, Kronos versus Zeus, because another name for Marduk is Zeus. Ninurta, Kronos, wanted to swallow Marduk, but he defeated Kronos. He managed to bound up, to have Saturn bound or restrained in order to keep chaos at bay and so on. The problem here is that Saturn is like a cork. If you close it, a lot of force will be bound up on our planet. You have to release it. It's the balance between the below and the above. Now Marduk ended up in this matrix prison himself. And if you remember Agent Smith in Matrix, for example, Agent Smith is trapped here with us, and he wants to find a way out desperately. Now, that's very much what's going on here, because the Mardukite priest class start to build a tower in Babylon in order to open up the heavens again, because these forces started to work themselves on Marduk, Zeus, and he started to be corrupt himself and be more dense and more materialistic. Remember, he is half God, half human. Therefore, he can be corrupted like us. He can end up under the sway of Ninurta and his father Enlil. And I think Marduk knew that when he defeated Kronos, but he did it anyway for the sake of keeping chaos at bay. This is a war going on. It is a war over Jupiter and Saturn, who rules. Now it is Ninurta and Nergal who destroys the tower. And the tower is a ziggurat, and a ziggurat is like a pyramid. The ziggurat from Sumer and Babylon. And they have 7 steps. And the most holy is, of course, at the top. And the ziggurat was used to print gold, print coins and stuff, and an esoteric elite priest class had access to it. And the most famous of these ziggurats is, of course, the Tower of Babel. But the real name is Etemen Anki, Temple of Heaven and Earth. Ka Dinger Raki, Babylon, Ziggurat of Babylon. Destroyed by Ninurta, not created by Ninurta and his elite priest class Nimrod. Because what the Mardukites tried to do was to open up the matrix again not to be trapped within it. But Ninurta and Jehovah wanted a different thing. And they have already showed us what they wanted through the flood. Doesn't mean that Marduk is the good guy here. Rather, he wanted to open the matrix to be able to reach to his father, Anki, Sirius 33, the Freemason star, the Freemason Royal Ark of Freemasonry, 33 degrees, the dog star. But he failed. And this time around, Enlil, Ninurta shattered the language, because language is science, language is memory, and we were trapped once more. The problem with the Mardukite idea is not to have all humanity in on this. No, this is a chosen few, an esoteric elite who should have access to the stars. And this is the difference from me as a Luciferian left-hand path. I want to free humanity, all of them. I think it is dangerous to have an elite ruling over us and keep the rest of us in the dark, because they will be corrupted. And they have been corrupted. So now we come back to the art of banking, empire building, and the word come. Because now Marduk was defeated from now for a couple of hundreds of years at least. They had a revival in the Old Testament, and the book of Daniel is about the Jewish people that was taken as slaves to Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar was a Mardukite. Now, the story in the Old Testament is false. They lie to you. They say that Cyrus the Great invaded Babylon because the walls was weakened through water. Surely it's a lie. Cyrus the Great had sent the priesthood, the priest class in Babylon, clay tablets explaining to them that he was a Mardukite himself. Now the priest class in Babylon have been stripped of the power because after Nebuchadnezzar's son have taken over, and he was worshipping Nabu, the moon god. No, sorry, not Nabu. Nanasin, the moon god. They had no power. Now Cyrus the Great comes along, explained to them, if you let me in, I will put you back in power. And they backed him up with gold to build up his army. When he enters the Babylon, because they open up the doors for him, they get back to power again. And now a very interesting thing happens. They release the Jewish people because Nebuchadnezzar wanted to rebuild the Tower of Babylon again, but he didn't get through with it. They financed the Jewish people to rebuild their Solomon temple, second temple. And it's called Babel, meaning from Babylon. And that is the temple the Freemasons think is holy. This is an important thing for them, right? And this Cyrus the Great, they say, is a Zoroastrian worshipper, but he's not. He's a Mardukite. Under different names, he then tried to create a huge empire under one god with a different name, with one banking family under one god, and that's the Persian Empire. This is the first try to create a new world order under one Anunnaki god. You should worship me, but there are other gods, but worship me. Becoming later on another thing when Enlil, through propaganda, takes back the power under him. So it's a propaganda war between these gods, the Enlil family and the Anki family. Now the shepherd gods is gods who can move through the skies. The farmer gods, they are using the ground and take down energy from above to below into the ground. They plow down energy grids within the earth. Sounds good. The problem is it is like water. If you pour too much water on a flower, it will die. If you pour down energy, too much energy into the ground, then the ground will rot. And then they have to release this force. And to release this force, and the matrix is closed, remember, they've destroyed the tower, they will do it through human sacrifice and so on, to release energy. We become the releasing force because they have plowed down too much energy into the earth. Now this Ninurta is the demiurge, is the black cube of Saturn, is Saturn. Kaaba, for example. You mentioned the people who have the cube on their forehead, for example. And the Christian worship the sun. And the sun, Shamash, is also on Enlil's side. It's the same family. Now, the human sacrifice part comes in to sacrifice to Saturn. And that's Jehovah's son. They worship the demiurge and his father. And there is a given why they do this. Now, as I said before, they have lost their spark. When and why? When they start to worship Ninurta, there is an esoteric ritual where you give away your spark, your soul, for knowledge and power over the material plane. But if you do, you can't go back to source. There is no meaning for them to try to reach higher spiritual levels if they can't reach it. Their game becomes the demiurgic game, and their god becomes the demiurge because it's a given, because the demiurge rules the matrix we live in. Now the only option for them is to use power, force, technology to do what we can do. At the same time, they convince us not to use our spark, our light, to transform and transcend. They don't want to end this digital chess game with black and white squares on it. Because this is their heaven or hell, whatever you want to call it. This is their game plan.
So if they do not do these sacrifices, what is the end result of that on the physical reality plane?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a hunch that because we human become more and more individual, and I'm not viewing it as a bad thing. The only thing here is that we can see, yeah, it affects nature on a level. But this climate change nonsense, you shouldn't buy into it. But I mean, like nature is not healthy. Nature become rotten or overwatered, or it doesn't thrive as it should be. That's what I feel like. I don't have anything to back it up.
And do they look for specific bloodlines that have more sun, more gold?
Yeah, there is in Persia or Iran, they talk about this blue-eyed Aryan race. This race we called in esoteric language the fairy race. The fairy race or elven race have a little bit more DNA from the gods within them. The fairy race have been manipulated, the elven race, sorry, to do the war for them, to colonize other people, to destroy through technology, because you can see the difference between the races. And I'm not saying that anyone is better than the other, but there is a clearly difference within the races. The blue eyes or the Europeans, they go around and colonize people and try to get hold of a land and stay there. For example, the black race, they are satisfied with Africa. They don't want to expand. The Chinese went to America in the 1400s, but went back again. They weren't interested in colonize it. But then the white race, the blue eyes white, come and they try to get hold of the land because they want to expand. They are adventurous. They are very expensive. Expansion is the game. And now when we have done their bidding, they turn around and say, look how bad you have behaved. Now you have to destroy your own culture with immigration. But we have done their bidding, but now they are a little bit afraid of us because they know that we are more like warlike technology and stuff like that. What we have lost is connection to nature. And I think we have a lot to learn from the Indian races, the American Indians and so on. I don't think it's only for the good. We have lost things through this. But I think if they can choose a sacrifice, they like to sacrifice the blue-eyed, the elven race to the gods, who doesn't belong to them. And then you have the green eyes, the red-haired Irish people, Tuatha Dé Danann. Tuatha Dé Danann has even more God DNA within them, according to esoteric lore. And people doesn't like to talk about this because Hitler started to use this as a propaganda.
So yeah, I would think, or the green-eyed, black-haired people.
Yeah. There are differences in us, and doesn't mean that we are one family. I think we can help each other. But if the question of sacrifice, I think the best sacrifice for them is in the elven Tutadidanu race.
Yeah. And where do you think the O negative bloodline comes into this all? Is that the Nephilim?
Yeah, it is the Nephilim. And they were mighty warriors, not only in stature, but also in power, spirit. And we all have some of them in us still.
Yeah.
But that's a huge story. And yes, I had to say yes to that question.
Okay.
Not only because I say so, but because the Watcher have said so.
Right.
So
Yeah.
from here on, from Cyrus the Great, from the building of the empires, they start to lay the new grid. But remember, it is nothing new about it except the technology. They want to use a different kind of technology than before, but it's the same idea.
Do you think that them going deeply into esotericism of the 33 degrees, 33 staircase to heaven, etc., is a way for them to achieve the creation of another Tower of Babel?
Yeah, very interesting. I think, yes. And the New Testament, the Jesus and all of that, he was crucified at an age of 33, born under the Star of Bethlehem, who is Sirius, crucified with 3 nails, and a nail is a vav in Hebrew, and the number is 6 of a vav, crucified with 666, and that's the number of the black sun, and the black sun leads to Sirius. Jesus is not God's son, but Jesus is the sun behind the sun.
The true sun.
Hmm?
The true sun.
Yeah. And the meaning behind it is that an esoteric master showed us through mythology how to go back to Sirius. That's a gateway, a stargate. And you can learn how to travel there through your soul, the light source. And I think that you will find a thin plasma sheet connecting our sun with Sirius. And that Sirius is our twin sun, dancing around each other.
And when you say we can learn to go there, are you talking about meditation techniques, intention, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a good start. And then you have to learn how to split your soul, your light from your body, and soul travel.
Okay.
But you can do it. And I think it is a big thing for us human when we can go there. Because sorry.
Have you done it?
No, I haven't. I'm working on it, and it is hard. You have to be brave, and you have to master a lot of different techniques. But my aim is to go there. And I think Anki is not the villain here, but I think he hoped that Marduk wouldn't become corrupt. I really think he hoped that Marduk could open up the skies again with the first tower on the Tower of Babel. And I think Marduk wasn't corrupt from the beginning. I think the forces started to work on him for real after the fall of the tower. And then in the Greek mythology, he appeared as Zeus. And Zeus is a mean bastard, manipulating women, manipulating humanity. And he is not nice. Seems to me, and it states in the mythology, in the Sumer mythology, that he recreated the Matrix to make it harder for us to escape it. The Olympian gods. He became the gods of the gods in the Greek mythology, taking over of the Anki and Enlil, but then become corrupted, and Enlil and Ninurta took over again. And they are the one who rules the Matrix now. And they are the one who have programmed the Matrix what it is today. But I think Enki is still not necessarily evil. I hope it's the case.
Do you think he's manifested or incarnated as a human here? Somebody who is, you know, on a larger echelon of public scrutiny?
I think Enki is too far removed from us right now. But I think Mardukites are divided between the Mardukites who wanted to take back Marduk's original plan and the one who have been corrupted. I think they are divided. But I don't agree with none of them in that I don't believe an esoteric elite should possess the information and knowledge and to keep the rest of us in the dark.
Absolutely.
That I think is very dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think they have a monopoly over creation. It'd be interesting to know and if they believe that they were given that guardianship in origin. And that came in because in origin, I know that the Anunnaki selected families to be the kingships in the world, right? And in this way, this pie of these different kingships were under the one control. So in their mind, they think that they have legitimacy to rule.
Yes, they have. Absolutely true. And I think many mimicking, as I said before, if you're an esoteric priest class and worship Marduk, they aim to mimic his personality and do his breathing in the material plane through him. And if Marduk have lost his ability to be here in physical form, then he will have a priest class doing his bidding. And I think it is a war going on between the factions still. I don't agree that everyone is cahoot with each other. I see breakaway groups.
Yeah.
I see different agendas. And I think some of them want to bring in the gods again and have a shift in in nature to be able to take them in, to have them in physical form again.
Yeah, I think it reminds me of when in ancient Greece there was this dissolving of power of the gods when the people started taking their power back and not wanting to worship them anymore. and that started breaking up their control. It's, you know, and I feel this is what we're doing. They have very little. I don't believe they have anything that is going to work. And I believe their desperation has to be, I mean, this is why they're using technology and medical agendas to get that.
Yeah,
I don't believe it will work.
not me either. They are a little bit desperate right now because the time is on our side, really. Things are shifting within the human psyche. What I'm talking about now, it would be possible to grasp 50 years ago. You couldn't do it.
I agree.
And
that's a testament that the DNA is changing. So
yeah,
a lot of the DNA that has been forced through the alterations that have been done and performed and the poisoning that have basically made it dormant, the fact that we are able to bring this knowledge in now is a testament that the DNA itself is changing and starting to activate.
yeah, yeah, I would say so. If they wouldn't bombard us from air with poisoning of food, water, and all of that stuff, manipulating propaganda from media, the school is there to program us, I think we would be awake right now. A complete
Absolutely.
reality.
I agree.
This is horrible, and it is a desperation from their side. And they are desperate to put this new grid. And it is important to state that it is nothing new. The tech is new, but the idea is old. We have had this grid in place before for temples, pyramids, and stuff. Different kind of technology, but the same idea. Today we have CERN, not the Tower of Babel. And the war in Jerusalem, I'm afraid that they will try to destroy the mosque in order to be able to rebuild the third temple there on the mountain and blame it on Hamas.
I would agree with you.
And if they do it, then maybe that's the last building put in place. And remember, it will be put in place where Zerubbabel, the second temple, was built from Babylon, right? But I think CERN is the heart of the machine.
I agree.
No, sorry, wrong way. Yeah, we have to talk a little about the cliphotic tree here, the tree in the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge. And this is the dark tree, and people think it's evil and so on. Well, it is dark because it is about our unconscious, and when we bring that up to the surface, we will see a lot of things. But it's for the purpose to transform it. But here I want to point out number 6, Tagirion. It's the heart of the tree. And
Can you make that bigger, David? Because we can't see the writing in it. It's so small.
Yeah, it says Tagirion. The number is 6 and then Tagirion.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. I will make it more I will make it more profound for you and more like in your face. But that's the cliphotic tree. And that's the black sun, Thagirion, and the number is 6. And on the day side of the tree of life, that's our sun. So if you go through our sun, or if you work with its forces, you work with the black sun, the sun behind the sun. And we have a black sun within us, and there are also a physical manifestation in form of Sirius outside of us. And here you have Thagirions, the symbol of Thagirion, and see a black, white somebody, you can't make it black on a black background. But that is Thagirion, and the number of Thagirion is 666. The heart of the tree, the black sun. And the black sun is a very important thing in the left-hand path. This is the gap. This is where the esoteric elite can't go further through spirit. Now the only option for them is through force and technology to proceed. Meaning, for them to get access to Sirius, they need technology in combination with esoteric lore. And as I stated before, Sirius is Enki's star, and Enki is the god over science and magic. And another name for Sirius is Sotis Sirius. And this how they how it come across in Egypt, how they symbolize it. You have an obelisk, a star, and like a half round. It's like, but it is the moon, of course. You have the obelisk, Sirius, and the moon. Why? In order for them to get access to Sirius, they have to go through the moon, from the moon to the sun, and from the sun to the black sun, Sirius. Meaning they have to connect Earth with the moon, moon with the sun with Sirius. And there you have the Stargate. Now you can do it through spirit. You can't forget that, because then you will lose. But they can't, right? Remember that. And Saturn is part of this Stargate as well. That is the reason why it is important who controls Saturn. Who controls the gate. And of course, you have the hexagon on the pole of Saturn. And if you connect the lines of an hexagon, get the cube. And you will find the cube in places, in big cities around the world. Making a statement that through technology, a certain esoteric elite will have access to Sirius and other fixed stars and stars. At the same time, they want to keep you in the dark, in the matrix. That is the reason why they don't share the technology with you. That is the reason why they want you controlled. Because when they open the stargates, they need to have you under wrap, because you have a spark, you have a soul. And if they open the stargates, you can leave through cracks in this system. Then the dog is on the loose, so to speak. Now, what to do if this is the case? Let's go to CERN now, and and part 6, CERN and Internet. And you have the CERN logo, and it is 666, right? We know that now. It is clear, because we know the purpose, their aim. Nothing is a coincidence. And you will find that a lot of Jesuits are working in CERN.
Of course.
Yeah. And their symbol is the same. You have the 3 nails crucified. Jesus was crucified. There you have it, 666 and the sun. And the corona. And you might recognize the corona of something else. The corona of the sun, 666. CERN. Who gave us the internet? It was CERN and it was DARPA. Now you have to decide, do you think it was to be kind to us? Or did they have some nefarious purpose for this? Did they want to connect us to CERN, for example, through internet, data mining, DARPA, internet, cell phones? You have all in this card, tarot card, number 6 in the tower. And the guys at CERN gave the woman a prize for this tarot deck.
What do you mean by that? Like they gave her a price? Like what do you mean?
They gave her like a prize for the best artwork.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay.
Very strange.
Very strange. And the 666. And I know that's a part of the inversion that happened here to make the 666 into a demonic number. But
Yeah.
in the esotericism and in the tree of life, what is the 666?
Yeah. The 666 is on the tree of death or knowledge, or the cliphotic tree, meaning that when you enter 666, you go within yourself to the black sun within yourself. That is a huge thing. Now you need your heart with you. Now you need your spark, your soul with you. It is like being with a powerful force energy. Imagine a big orchestra playing and you get mesmerized by it, by its darkness, but also by its beauty. And you have to listen to the music and concentrate and focus when a gap creates through this music. And then the only way for you to find the gap and to take it is not through your rational mind, but through your heart, spirit, spark. And that hole, that gap is your way to the other side. And the elite doesn't have that. It's a safe switch, keeping them out from higher realms. But they want to go there through technology because they can't do it in another way. But we can. If they can kill our spark, kill our soul, and connect us to a hive mind machine, then they can pull the switch.
Hence
then,
the agenda.
yeah. What do they need to have this agenda going? Let's talk about the number 42 for a moment here. Again, you remember the Bible, the Old Testament, the number 40, 41, and 42 is completion. We find this, for example, in The Shining. I have decoded the movie, and Danny have it on his shirt. Danny overcome these forces, this esoteric elite in the hotel, get transformed by it, and escapes it, become 42, and overcomes it. But you can invert it, and we know that these forces invert everything, so also the number 42. For example, in the Hitchhiker Guides to the Galaxy, They have an artificial intelligence computer telling humanity that the answer to everything is 42. Why a computer? Why a machine? Why AI? In Revelation, we have the number 42. And Revelation was probably written by the esoteric elite as a blueprint for their plan. Because this plan is long in the making, as I said. They are under the demiurgic control. Their plan is for the material to be gods here. If we can't rule in heaven, then we will rule in hell or in the material plane instead. And if you read Revelation after this presentation, some of it will make sense for you. And even in other parts of the Old Testament and the New one. Now, we have to be careful with words here. But this wonderful medicine Bill Gates gave us and other crooks, the elite. And this is not my state. I'm not the one who state this. This is from their pattern. But here we go. They're talking about polynucleotide. The same polynucleotide may be structurally modified from ATCCG to ATCCCG. Here, the nucleotide CC has been inserted, resulting in a structural modification of the polynucleotide. They are talking about DNA here. Let's use a simple gematria based on the number 6 here. On this ATCCCG, what do we get? AT5MEC2G. If we don't break it down, we get 222. But if we break it down, we get 42. And you can claim it is a coincidence. And yes, you can if you want to. But remember, it doesn't make the rest of my case invalid. But this is an example they are doing from their own research pattern.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And I don't remember why I felt I had to do this gematria on it, but I felt it was important. And when I saw it in front of me, it was like, yeah, what to say?
Profound. That says it all.
Yeah. And combined it with what I have talked about before that and understand what's going on here. This is another card from the Hexen 2.0. The moon card, the number 18. And what do we found? We found transhumanism in combination to AI, to the moon, and internet. And we know that they want to have an interplanetary internet aimed at the moon. Meaning that they will connect humanity through medicine and technology, connect us to the 5G net. 5G net is connected to CERN. CERN is aimed at the black sun, the moon, an interplanetary internet. connect us to a machine. And they are talking about this. They're talking as human as batteries for the AI machine. And we come back to the movie Matrix, right? What do they want? They want to create what we call a singularity, where the human is just part of the machine, at the same time are the battery of the machine, connecting digital banking, money, cars, factories, planets, and take away our spark, all in one go. One agenda, one shot, or a cup. And we can see the grid is putting together day by day. If you have eyes to see with. And CERN had a nice opening ritual. And it begins with a bunch of people walking as zombies, lifeless, soulless. And it is, of course, a reference to the movie Metropolis from 1927, where they have a communist agenda, sacrifice to Moloch, transhumanism, Marxism. All of this is in that old movie. Almost all of it. I'm not talking about internet and stuff, but if you view the movie Metropolis, it's on YouTube. You will see a lot of this. 1927. Nothing is new. Now, this doesn't sound too good, but now I have a last good message. And that is, the Watchers have stated that we will be put through hard times if you keep your spark, if you transform, because you ain't get nothing for free. When they pull the switch, a new force will enter. And if you have prepared your vessel, your battery, your body, your temple to receive this force, you will be animated into a different being. And we will overcome them. And as Lucifer said, the tables of the money changers will be turned on them. And then those temples will crumble and fall. Because banking and money is the way they can put this infrastructure in place. But the sky will fall. Doesn't mean the end. But you will see a lot of things in the year ahead. War on the moon. Strange phenomena on the sun. Maybe Saturn. And you will see it. They will try to hide it from you. But the sheer scope and the fear will awaken you. It will shake you to the core. And when we realize that we have nothing to lose, we will have everything to gain. And that is where and when the human race will rise up again. And will find the cracks in the matrix they have created through the technology, through the grid, through their agenda, because that is the only way they can expand. And this is my presentation, When the Sky Falls in 8 parts.
Do you think that the fabulous, by the way, fabulous, there's so much here. I mean, I just feel like I can keep going, but I know it's getting late. Do you feel that the percentage of people who who retained their original prime creation, okay, and did not go to that place with that medicine, do you feel that just by virtue of those people who've retained this, it's going to make it near impossible for them to achieve what they're trying to do?
Take that one more.
So do you think that the amount of people who did not go for that medicine,
Yeah.
do you feel that by virtue of the number of people who retained their prime creation, their soul, spirit, human creation, do you think that that is making it impossible for them to achieve what they're trying to do?
Yes. It will be enough if 10,000 of us awaken to our power.
I agree.
We will be too powerful for them to hold back. And maybe, and this is a little bit sad because many people will not make it, but we have been here before as a race, and we will replenish the earth. We will evolve.
And when you say prepare your vessel for this opening, because they can't do what they're going to do unless those cracks happen. I mean, it's almost like you open a Stargate, the Stargate opens, right?
Yeah.
So when you say to prepare your vessel, people might want to know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, you have to work with method, with an esoteric method, aim to, you need to transform your temple if you're going to be able to take in the force. Nothing is for free, but there are different methods to go there. I'm sure you can prepare your vessel with different method. I have chosen the left-hand path method.
Right.
Because I feel we have to. It will not be like you sit and watch TV all day and suddenly you become transformed. You have to be involved.
Yeah.
Do the work. But then you will transform when the force hits you. And as you said, when they open up the gates, they hope is to take away your spark, your soul, and connect you to a hive machine. Then you can't animate. Then it doesn't matter if they open up the skies again.
Right.
That's the reason why they push this agenda so hard. But they have many agendas within the agenda, right?
Yes, to try and get the population that is prime creation intact. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and to keep down, to take down the number of humans, because the one they want to have around, they can't control this many people. But the one who is still here, they want to have connected to this machine, because they will need us, and they hate the fact that they need our creativity, our spark,
Mm-hmm.
for their own purpose.
Right.
Well, the spark they can do away with it in some way, but they need, this is the reason why they have internet again, because everything we do is stored. Our creativity power is stored in digital form. Sooner or later they can take us out, because they don't even need our spark, our creativity anymore.
Terrifying, eh?
Yeah.
So, okay. What do you foresee in the next 2 years, in a nutshell, before we end? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it's midnight for you. I feel so bad.
Yeah. No, but I think the elite, they feel the push. They are very close to be exposed with the pedophilia. They're close to being exposed with the technology they have, with the MK Ultra and all of this. And I'm afraid that now I'm not saying that they will succeed, but I am quite sure that they will try to destroy the mosque and to rebuild the third temple there. And when they do it, they will try to blame Hamas. The problem is, if the Muslim doesn't buy it, then we have a third world war on our hand. They will try to connect the tunnels they have to an interplanetary grid. It's like really a highway, electric highway, right? Connecting different towns, computers, CERN, for example. And I'm afraid that when they give us a computer, we are mesmerized by it. Oh, shit, nice. This is so profound. At the same time, the most profound thing they have is under earth, underneath us in tunnels, and they will never share that with us. And if you don't understand it, it will be exactly as they state in the Bible. When they connect this, and we ain't prepared, we haven't worked on ourselves, it will be like putting a cable in a socket, and it will hit us as like a ton of brick.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I'm very afraid that we have to transform. We have to, every one of us who has the warrior spirit still intact in us should work on itself.
Wise words. There's just, this is just it's such a terrifying time, but also the greatest opportunity for us too. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like we've been waiting for this to finally, I mean, there's a lot. I'm not sure if you would love to do a part 2 at a later point. And then we could just unravel some deeper questions as well. I think there's a lot of places to go.
Yeah, I would love to be on again if you and your audience want me. And
We would love to.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And
it's been incredible, David. There's just like, we've been here for 3 hours, and I'm telling you, I have so many questions, but I know it's midnight for you, and I know it's been a long one because it's 3 hours, and I don't want to be cruel. I know it's like at the end of your day. Yes, it's hard. So I'm going to respect that, and and then I'd love to do a part 2.
Yeah, and then I will be back. And thank you for the opportunity. And as I said, it's very important that people like us come together remember, my brothers and sisters, keep on. Don't let them take a spark, a soul. And we will win this.
Right.
And it is our destiny to ride the skies again together.
Exactly. And not to have the sky fall.
Exactly.
It's been an honor. It's been wonderful. David, thank you so much. And I look forward to part 2. Maybe we can even go a little deep into certain techniques for people to be able to explore, because I think a lot of people don't know where to go with this, right?
No, it's true. It's very true.
It takes years of study to finally unravel how to get to the place of knowing the path to get there.
For sure. It is a huge part in this as well, of course. And yeah, it's wonderful. Let's go there next
All
time.
right. I am looking forward to part 2. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, David, so much. This has been wonderful.
Thank you a lot, and take care, all of you, and prepare, and you will see things will happen.
Well, good night, everyone, and thank you.
Good night.